Yo, what's good? It's your boy Lo. We are back for another episode of The World According to Lo. And y'all know how I get down. Now listen, I told y'all after episode 100, everything from here, you don't know what we doing, what we got going. And I'm excited to bring my brother to the podcast. Man, before I even show y'all who he is, I want y'all to know that I appreciate all of the support. Thank y'all for the feedback, especially on YouTube. And if you're not following me on YouTube, what are you doing with your life, bro? Like, y'all got to get in, lock in. We bringing a lot more access and a lot more information to the platform. That being said, y'all welcome my brother, Justen Williams, to the platform, man. What up, bro?
What's up, brother?
Hey, man, it's been a long time coming.
I know, man.
But we here.
I'm grateful.
Now, I got to give a little insight. We are wrapping up a photo shoot.
We are.
And as the cards align with your schedule and everything, like, we got to get it in how we get it.
This is facts.
All right, before we get into that, let's get into it because I want to get into a conversation and I want y'all to know, like, Justen is a legend. You don't need to know no more than that. Like, the boy is tough, but I want people to know what it is you do. So give a little insight into yourself.
All right, cool. So I'm born and raised in New Orleans, and by trade, I am a commercial and advertising photographer. Cut my teeth in doing events for the longest, and slowly started to realize that being able to manipulate a scene by light was what I was very passionate about. And through that, I've just gone down a rabbit hole of knowing enough to know I don't know enough. And I'm just on this constant quest to better myself and in my skill set. But more importantly, I'm a dad, I'm a husband, and I'm very proud of those two titles more than anything else. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Happy to be here.
Happy to be here, man. Look, there's so many things I want to talk about.
Yeah, man, let's get into it. You throw me the alley and we could LeBron and D-Wade it.
I like to take people through journeys, right? So first, let's do this. When did you realize that you were creative? What age? Like, walk me through it.
Okay. I would say I've been a musician since I was like 12, I believe.
Yeah.
I'm 36 now, and I came up in the church playing drums, and then in college I was introduced to music production, and that kind of that did it for me. Like, I knew that that's what I wanted to do with my life, with my career, something with being able to take nothing and turn it into something.
Yeah.
From like concept to completion, that was always very important for me. And my grades started to suffer really bad in college because that was all I cared about. Because I knew there was like infinite potential, like it could go any way I wanted it to. So dove super deep into production, and that started taking off for me. Post-college, I was doing a bunch of stuff in like TV and film, a lot of video game composition, working with artists and like record labels and everything as well. Like a lot of major label stuff, honestly. And I realized, I was like, this is like, I'm working on pretty cool stuff. I should get a camera and record myself making beats in the studio or working with these artists. And like I just said before, like, I hate not knowing how to do something, so I obsessed over a camera. When I bought my first camera, I had no idea what I was doing. But I started making these videos, and I was like, that's kind of fun. And completely pivoted on accident. And 6 years later, like,
we here.
Yeah, we're here.
Now, I want to dive into that a little bit because, I come from, both of my parents have engineering backgrounds. So for me to see the result of something is probably my least most interactive part. I like to see the bolts and the nuts and all of the things that make what we witness possible.
That's very interesting to hear you say that, because I never realized that. But while we were shooting today, I would show you the end result of the photo, and you'd be like, oh yeah, that's cool. But when I'm setting up these lights and everything else, you were like fascinated, and you had question after question. So and I'm an end result kind of guy.
Yeah.
And like, it's just very interesting to see the parallel between the two.
But that's why dynamics work so
Exactly.
well. And I'm glad you said it, because like hindsight is realizing how did you get here, right? So for me, I'm curious about the kid on Saturday morning. I want to know, like, were you more of an outside kid, or did you find yourself gravitating to like the television? Did you like environmental things that kind of stimulated you, like mentally, and you know, like with taste? Like, were you a food like what was the young Justen like?
Definitely an outside kid. I see so much of myself in my son, man, with like just this super wide imagination, and that's one of the things that I'm really proud of. My wife and I are doing. It's just like, just go figure it out, man. Like I always say, like, I work really hard not to give my son the world, but to have access to it. And I've realized with the more we feed my son these things that he's not used to, the bigger his brain gets. Right. And I know I was the exact same way, and I thank God for my parents with being able to do the same thing with me, just exposing me to things that, you know, I would have never known. But yeah, I was definitely like an outside kid, very heavy into sports, but like I was also into like extreme sports, like
BMX. Did you build your own bikes?
No, it was way less cool than that. I did inline rollerblading, and it was
really,
bro. You couldn't tell me I wasn't gonna be on brink.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
I would have never guessed you as a rollerblader.
It's kind of wild, bro. I was like going down like vert ramps in like skate parks type thing.
Get out.
I'm gonna be honest with you.
All right, well, listen, that could be, I think our experiences help shape us, right? Like what we do know. What was the rollerblade community like? Give us some insight, because I don't know.
I was the only pepper speck in the salt factory, if you pick up what I'm putting down.
Yeah. I mean, most people wasn't rollerblading in the black community.
No, man, no. So which also made it very interesting when I would be around people that looked like me. They were like, you do what? Like, it was like one of those things.
Yeah.
But I also played basketball, and I was like relatively decent at hooping growing up. So I also feel like that kind of started to shape like who I was as a person, because regardless of whatever space I was in, I could still be me.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we'll talk about this later, but that's helped me so much as a photographer with learning to be comfortable in my skin, no matter who's in front of the camera or what agency's behind me. Like, I could just be me, and that seems to be a much higher, like, keeping me in the room versus my ability with the camera.
Yeah. So I'm going to be totally transparent, as they know on my podcast that I am, because something is bothering me.
Talk to me.
I'm going to get you to shift like me.
Sure.
So that you're shot, and I want you, and you're a camera guy.
Are we there?
There you go.
All right, cool.
There we go.
Cool.
We in there, because I don't want no problems.
Nah, man. Yeah, this is much better to fix now.
Yeah,
45 minutes into the conversation.
That's what you know. I'm glancing. I'm like, I need to be able to see him. Like, and you can play more into your camera shot.
Okay,
like,
cool.
The conversation is there. But now we're back. Now I like that, because here's the thing with me. I was very astute, and I feel like I lived two lives growing up. Mm-hmm. What I mean by that was, like, my academics was very big in my family. Like, my parents, my dad was hard on us about getting our education, but also exploring all of our gifts, right? So, like, a lot of my homeboys and a lot of the, outside of school who I kicked it with didn't take the AP classes, or they weren't, like, striving a lot into, like, physics or entrepreneurship, right, or like these classes, art classes that, just seem beneath the cool factor. And I like that you talked about how we fit in growing up as creators, because a lot of times it doesn't get cool until after.
For sure. We were the weird guys.
We the weird guys early on.
Yeah, I'm still weird now, bro, and I'm totally okay with that.
I love it, right? I embrace it. But there was also another fold. What saved me, and that's a whole nother conversation, is that I was very good. I was a great athlete.
Yeah.
So it balanced out a sense. I could mask it, a bit, but like I can remember storytelling from my grandparents, right? So when I really started dissecting like why I love like documentary style content was because my grandfather always told the best stories. His friends always told the best stories.
And you feel like you're there.
Older people tell the best stories.
Absolutely.
And I would want to sit up under older people just for the stories.
Yeah, man.
Like, boy, I remember when, and I'd be locked in. That and the butterscotch candies that they always had with them, right? But I wonder, like, because when I look at your work, Justen, and I think I tell you this, a lot of times I feel like a groupie because I'm always like just on you about how amazing I think your work is.
And it's appreciated, man.
Hey,
it really,
man.
really is.
But as someone who is studying the art of what you do, it not only gives a sense of presence, right? It also gives this artistic factor. And for me, I'm always curious as to how you marry the two so much. But before I get you to answer that question, I want people to put some respect on your name. So let's talk about some of the brands that you have worked with.
Okay.
Just run them. Some of them.
So I've done work with AT&T. My bad. Hello.
Yeah.
I've done work with AT&T, Spotify. I do a ton of stuff for New Orleans tourism, Louisiana tourism. I've done stuff for Adidas, Pfizer, Roc Nation.
Shout out to Roc Nation, by the way.
Huge shout out to Roc Nation.
That check is nice.
Who else? Bumble. I've done stuff for a huge network of hospitals back in New Orleans.
Essence.
Yeah, Essence. United Healthcare, Peloton.
The list goes on.
Yeah, man.
Y'all can find the whole directory on his website.
This is not a flex, but one of my favorite things to do is ride around New Orleans and show my son the billboards with my photos on them.
Hey,
that's like
clap it up for that, dog.
I'm very proud of that.
As you should.
Yeah.
And now we're gonna get back to like I want people to understand like where your work has taken you.
For sure.
But every destination has a journey.
Absolutely.
For you, how do you equate your arrival to where you are now?
Honestly, I feel like...
Because how long have you been shooting? Let's define that as well.
So I bought a camera in 2017 to start those videos that I was telling you about. End of 2016. Had no idea what I was doing, so I put it down and got back focused on music. I quit my job May of 2018 to do music full time. Okay. I had just landed a song on Empire and had just done some game design stuff. So I had a couple dollars saved up and I was like, we don't have kids, let's jump. A month after I quit, my wife told me she was pregnant. And I was just kind of like hustling with...
Hard to roll that back, man.
Man, what? What? Instant panic.
Yeah.
Like you cold and sweating at the same time. It was like one of those. But God is faithful, bro. Yeah. It is like, every time I tell this story, it blows my mind because photography was never part of my plan. Yeah. And while like I had a camera and I bought a lens, I didn't know the intricacies of like what this could do. Right. And I was shooting like birthday parties and...
What were you shooting on initially?
First camera I bought was a Fuji X-T10.
Really?
Yep. And it was honestly all I could afford at the time. Everybody was telling me, get the 5D from Canon and like I
5D was God for a while.
It was the GOAT, but like
it was expensive.
I was also a broke musician, so like I knew where
Body
I
was 5,000.
Exactly, bro. And
Back then.
the way my bank account set up. So like I knew I couldn't get it. So
Yeah.
I got an XT10 on an open box deal from Best Buy, and
Yo, can we clap it up for Best? Yo, that open box,
Man,
I
what?
don't know who comes up with the discounts.
me neither. But
They have saved me countless times.
yeah, bro, they need a raise. They
Seriously.
for sure need a raise.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then my parents bought me like a $200 lens for my birthday or something
Christmas
like
or
that.
birthday.
Yeah, something like that.
Situation, yeah.
And I ran with it. I was doing those little beat making videos and shooting birthday parties on the side when I could. Bought me a flash off of Amazon, and it was bad, bro.
Yeah.
It was like, it's pretty terrible.
Yeah.
But I saw that there was potential there. And I always say my greatest fear, outside of the police sometimes, is squandered potential.
Yeah.
So if I see that there's an opportunity for improvement and I don't capitalize on it, like I'm doing myself a disservice. And had I not taken the initiative, and huge shout out to my father-in-law, because my father-in-law is a photographer,
Yeah.
and he gave me the grassroots basics, but he's also the kind of like, all right, I'm not gonna show you everything.
Yeah.
So he kind of like threw me to the wolves and let me figure a lot of stuff out to myself. But had he not given me that and forced me to go learn it, I don't know if this would have like morphed into what it is now. And I've been running on those basic principles for 6 years now, and it's wild, man.
So I'm always, like I said, I'm always curious, right? So if you could send back 2 tips to your initial self that could catapult you throughout today, what would those 2 tips be? That you feel would change and elevate what you've experienced exponentially?
That's a great question, man. I think the first one would be you are who you always thought you were. And that's something like in my 36 years of life that I still deal with on the regular.
Yeah.
And not in just like some imposter syndrome thing, just like a belief in self. My dad has fussed at me since a child about how I always played down to my competition. He would always say how you dim your light so you don't outshine others.
Wow.
My dad told me that since a kid, and I get choked up thinking about it now because he always tells me that, like till this day, like
I never knew that.
just walk in it, bro. He also say, just walk in it, bro. Like if God gave you this, go.
Yeah.
And so that's the first thing, and everything else kind of like switched to Sony sooner. And I love Fuji, but at the time, they weren't as capable as they are now. And I felt like I've never been the type of photographer to get caught up on gear, but I do believe that tools, when used the right way, are assets to what you do. And I don't want to be so reliant on a brand or a certain piece of equipment that it prohibits the way I work.
Right.
So yeah, probably that.
Those are 2, I think, solid points. I want to go to your first point because I think that was one of the first things I felt I would share with you about your journey. And you know how they say sometimes insight into others is a reflection of self.
For sure.
Because I think we all deal with that,
Yeah.
a lot of us. But for me, and I think we share the sentiment of we love seeing those around us thrive at our best, at their best, and we can easily celebrate others.
Yeah.
But taking that energy, that same passion internally is huge. And I say this because my dad probably pushes me more than anybody I've ever known. And a lot of times as sons, we don't really get to talk about how much of a difference that makes,
For
right?
Sure.
And I'll share this, and I've shared this on the pod before. So when Caden, our son, was in like first, second grade, Caden, I have always known he was a genius. He had his brain functioned so fast, it took him a little longer to develop like speaking, because he was just constant. You could see him thinking so much.
Yeah.
And I remember he and I had this moment, which I think is amazing, that we're talking about this like a few days ago. And he said, Dad, you know, I want to try this. He was telling me something he wants to do. He's trying to get into soccer now and some other stuff. He's branching out. And he was like, I know you think I can do it because you always believe in me. And I was like, yeah.
That's got to be the greatest feeling in the world.
Dog, I'm trying to hold, I'm holding tight. And our journey with that is when everybody else said that he needed to be like in these classes, and some kids do. But I was like, no, man, I know what this kid has in him. Like, he just needs to focus. And everybody thought I was crazy. And I said, look, we'll kick it in the program for a little bit, but I'm telling y'all, he's not staying there. And we spent time at home just developing his ability to channel these thoughts and ideas that he has. And Caden, when he got it, shot up to the top of his class, to the point where they made him an ambassador of the school. And it made me reflect on sometimes, like, as dads, what we see in our children may not manifest the moment we want them to.
Yeah.
But that ability for us to keep pushing, keep building, supporting, like, is that something you, looking at that importance of what your dad said about you and saw in you, is that something you feel like you want to make sure you pass on to your son?
100%. I think about it all the time. And I don't want the lack of realization of self that I dealt with for like a really long time to impact how I teach August to do certain things. So in order to do that the right way, I just support. That's my biggest thing. Like, I just want to be there. And I want to constantly be a source of encouragement for him. If it's the smallest thing, like, my wife was a cheerleader in high school and college, but I'm screaming louder.
Yeah.
Like I'm #1 fan club, to where, you know, like, whatever you feel like doing, you could do it. Yeah. And I believe in you that much. And I'm finally that way with myself after that long.
So with all the amazing work you do, what would you want your son to remember about all of it?
That I was way better with people than I was with the camera. I truly feel that that's my biggest skill set. And that kind of goes back to previous careers before creative work. I worked at T-Mobile, and I was a front-facing sales-based business. I was terrible at sales, but incredible at customer service. Never hit my numbers. Never. I was at the bottom. Yeah. But there would be a line of people waiting to talk to me to fix their phones. And that showed me something. Yeah. That the service that I provide is trust. You know I'm not about to try to upsell you on something. Yeah. I will add value to what you're doing. But, like, am I messing up again?
Yeah.
I think this is my spot. I'm very comfortable.
Yeah, right, you're comfortable here?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah. You good? Keep talking.
And then prior to that, I worked for this Fortune 100 company in HR. And I was like employee relations. So like I was day-to-day speaking with people. And all of those skill sets. That's why when you asked me the question, like 2 things that I would change. Yeah. I hesitated because I truly believe that everything that I've gone through leading up to where I am now prepared me to be able to move and maneuver the way that I do now. Those like the intangible skill sets of person-to-person interaction. And I say that I feel like my ability to deal with people is my greatest skill set, because you touched on something to where it's present, like my work seems present. And I can honestly say the way that I've been able to diffuse situations or insert myself in situations is by just being me. Like, I just met your father-in-law, and you know, like within 5 minutes it was
locked in.
Yeah, and by doing that, like I got like a plethora of dad jokes, and I'm just like, I'm goofy by nature. All of those things, a byproduct of that is the camera disappearing. So you get these real human moments. And then the other side, like I was just saying with lighting and the technical side of it, those two being married together, you get this really like
amazing experience and moment.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things I realized, but you know, that's one of the similarities you and I have. And shout out to Johnny, our boy Johnny Jones, who
big shout out to Johnny,
is another mirror of everything we're discussing.
Johnny is a huge reason as to why I believe in myself the way that I do.
It's hard not to with Johnny.
For sure.
Like, he gonna big you up.
He's the teammate everybody needs.
Yeah.
Like, for real.
And I think those things come into play because, and in the sense of, I love how you put it, that it's not imposter syndrome, right? It's not, like, a lot of times I don't feel like I'm not who I think I am. Sometimes I think we struggle with walking in, trying not to be prideful.
Yes.
And there's a lot of room between humility and pride, bro. Like, we gotta find
there's a lot of room. And I'm just realizing that there's a lot of room.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, within like the last year, really.
Yeah.
Because I was so scared to come across like the pretentious guys that we know who work in creative. I never want to be like that, because like that's not who I am as a person. Mm-hmm. So like, why would I be like that in my place of work? That's always been very, very, and it was the same thing with music. It was the same thing with anything I did growing up. And I think that's why my dad was so adamant about, no, like there's a huge difference between you being this way and you being this way.
Yeah. And
we did not raise you to be this way. So operate how you know how to. And I think the longer you think about it, the harder it gets to decipher. Like, I truly feel being prideful is a choice. I'm very proud of the work that I do, but I'm not prideful. And that's just us as, like, the nature of me as a man.
Yeah.
And I feel like the longer you think about it, the more you realize, like, why am I really doing this then?
Yeah.
Is this for likes? Is this to be seen? Or am I trying to make an impact in my work?
And two, I think a prideful mindset removes the influence of anyone else but self.
Yeah.
To think that you somehow manufactured this alone. And that is what separates us from prideful people. Because it's the guy that scored 40 but didn't realize, like, had we not ran the play, you wouldn't be in a position to score and win, right?
Right.
And to think that the win is all yours.
Yeah.
When it's a team sport, like,
for sure.
And I kind of want to shift a little bit, because one thing I love about our dynamic is that we strategize a lot.
Yes.
Because you work with a lot of, like, the brands you have spoken to. It's not easy getting in the room with them. It's not easy getting the green light, so to speak.
Right.
A lot of people are listening saying, well, Justen, how do I do what you're doing? Like, you're living my dream. To them, you would say what?
I mean, I don't want to sound redundant, but I really feel that I feel like the work that I've done, even prior to I got on my first like big job.
Which was?
It was a collaboration between New Orleans Tourism and Spotify. That was the first time I worked with Spotify.
Did you throw up?
No, but I definitely had nervous gas.
Yeah.
Like it was bubbling. And I was actually on that job as the BTS photographer. They brought in this like iconic music photographer. Guy's amazing. And that was the first time where I was able to take a step back and just be a sponge, watching someone who's a master of their craft. I mean, this guy is like, his name is Danny Clinch.
Okay.
Dude's nuts. Like, so good. And I basically was shooting the stuff that he wasn't throughout this.
Gotcha.
I got to shoot a portrait of him, but just kind of understanding some of the stuff that he did. And that job is what made me realize, like, the people skills is what separates good from great. Because I watched him interact with, Currency and Preservation Hall Jazz Band and Irma Thomas, like all of these like iconic New Orleans musicians. Like it's photographing history, like legends. And the way he moved and interacted with them, it was familiar.
Yeah.
Like it's the same thing that I did with the people I helped at T-Mobile. And I was like, wait, there's no difference. And then when I started to apply that to the smallest things, and it became a practice habit.
Yeah.
So no matter what I photograph now, it's the same thing. Like I'm diffusing the bomb of awkward silence.
Yeah.
Like that's the goal. As soon as it starts, like what's the middle ground? So that's the first thing. Like I feel like my people skills is what's really, really propelled me. And like I've been able to build a reputation of not only being able to do solid work, but being a great person to work with.
So let's break that down. When you say people skills, because some people you have people on all spectrums of interacted. Mm-hmm. So like for someone who's an introvert or extrovert, when you say people skills, are you saying like being present, being, thoughtful? Like, what are you saying? Like,
both of those, for
remembering things, like...
I always start with very, very basic. I mean, I'm biased, but I feel like I live in the greatest city in the world. Mm-hmm. It's kind of hard to find somebody who doesn't like something about New Orleans.
Yeah.
So I usually start there. And then, even though you and I got a lot in common, but we're from two completely different lives.
Absolutely.
To me, that's a great example because we're from two completely different lives, but there's a lot in common. And to me, that shows that even though most people are very different, we're really not.
Yeah.
So I try to find a common ground. That's the first thing. Food is a great space to start. I always ask, my go-to is like, what's your favorite spot to eat down here? Mm-hmm. And then if they don't know, what should I eat? I'm happy you asked.
Yeah.
And then I can run down a list of places that I'll recommend. And it just kind of goes from there. So truth be told, I wouldn't say I'm introverted, but I'm definitely not going to go out of my way.
Yeah.
To like
interact.
Yeah. But if a conversation happens, I could definitely hold one.
Yeah.
So that was a hurdle for me, man. It really was. But something that I've been doing for like the last 4 years is running towards the things that scare me.
Yeah.
And talking to random people, when I first started doing that, it was terrifying, man. Like,
well, you got it down packed. I saw you at Essence House. Like
I feel like that was the stamp.
Really, it was a vibe, man.
Yeah, and like everybody felt comfortable.
Yeah, being on set with you was I told you, like it was looking at a class in action, man. Like,
man, I appreciate it. That means the world, bro.
That may be something you need to do, like having a community event where photographers can watch you in action, man.
I got nervous just thinking about that. That made my stomach hurt.
Run to it. You just said you run into the things, right?
Yeah, I'm an open book, bro. Like I surround myself with people who know more than me.
Yeah.
And if I can impart information to someone else, then like a win is a win.
But your workflow is cool, and and let's talk about the experience of you at Essence doing the portrait house.
Sure.
You had an assistant.
Shout out to Drew. It's my right hand man.
So
literally, the ship don't run without Drew, bro.
So let me break it down from my perspective. I'm there. I'm watching you. Thankfully, Johnny and I was able to arrive right when y'all were coming back from lunch. Y'all were getting kicked back up. I saw y'all walking. Y'all walked us through the lighting dynamic and the staging, and then I'm watching people start to really trickle in.
Yeah, it looked like it looked like the DMV in there for a second.
Yeah, man. But then I'm watching you connect with people. I'm watching you still be aware. I'm watching you give information to Drew in real time, adjustments that you're doing. And then I'm still seeing you be present enough to know I got my guys here, and you're just like a chef in a kitchen, sampling this, tasting this, moving here. This is good to go. Let's go. I'm looking at people want more than what you probably had time for.
Yeah.
And you didn't, back to the people skills, you did it so tastefully, like, no, this is the one. This is it. This portrait is stunning. Yeah, if you scan that QR code over there,
right.
You can get the pictures.
Right.
And you're juggling that. How much of your energy does that take for you to be at that pace?
Oh, man.
All day.
When we wrapped Sunday, I crashed. To me, that's more draining than like having to shoot all day. Because I think the biggest thing you said is like still being present. Like I never want someone I'm photographing to feel like they don't have my attention.
Yeah.
Because the reason I'm on the other side of a camera is because I hate being in front of cameras. It's such an intimidating thing, man.
Yeah.
So if I can do something to alleviate that stress or make somebody feel more comfortable by just being there and letting them know that, like, look, you the main priority right now. Like, no matter who it is. Like, it could be a kid. It could be an old lady. I mean, there was this older lady who came there. I photographed her 6 times in the 3 days I was there. She came twice each day. And not once did I be like, all right, you gotta go.
Yeah.
Because like, I know there was a reason she came back 5 additional times. There was something there. And for me to kind of like negate that and be like, I already did this already. Like, what's the saying? Like, how you do anything is how you do everything.
Yeah.
No matter what I'm shooting, I'm taking like the highest level of approach.
Absolutely.
Like
every photo, every staging,
anything,
watching,
man.
posing,
Yeah.
all of the things.
Even today.
Yeah.
Like today's like a perfect example because like I could have just came in here with a reflector and on-camera flash or something like that, and yeah, we would have got the photos we needed. But like, excellence is a practice habit.
Oh, absolutely.
And like, I want to stay in
the standard is a standard
for sure. And like, I'm one of my like really good friends, like big brother. He owns this sound design company in San Antonio. He told me something, and I think about it at least once a week about how like when I became a dad, he was like, legacies will always outlive legends. And I just think about that. Like when I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. What's the legacy I'm leaving behind? And if it's nothing but excellent work, I'm good with that. Super good with that. So that's my approach with photography, with fatherhood, with being a good husband, like being a good friend, all of that. Like I want to be the very best version of myself and deliver that to anybody I interact with.
So let's talk about Drew. Like having someone, and I did this for a while. I had a protege who, and he was my protege. But for you to have someone come in that close to your style, to see how you edit, you're pretty much in your wheelhouse.
Yeah.
How did you develop that trust with him to let him in that space?
So Drew is my best friend. But he and I used to work together at T-Mobile. So we used to, misery loved company there. Like we were just like, I won't say disgruntled employees, but like there was a commonality with our distaste for magenta.
It wasn't sweet, huh?
Yeah, nah. And even if it wasn't Drew, if it was just like somebody that, no, I'll stay on Drew for a while. I don't want to deviate. Like Drew is I have no problem. Like Drew got the keys to the kingdom. Because his success would be my success. And like I'm trying to help set him up to be the very best version of himself. And Drew's a very good photographer too. He just doesn't get to do it because of the responsibilities, because he has a very good job as well. But same thing, like when you see the potential in somebody, like I just want to help nurture that when I can. And like if I have jobs that I can afford to bring in an assistant that would put money in his pocket and then help set him up by learning things, like it's kind of fast tracking him. So like that's a win. It's like you seen your brother, get on.
A lot of times in this space, people are hesitant to share.
Yeah.
And
I was people for the longest.
For me, and I say this because I had a guy who is like a brother to me and had zero knowledge about the game of film and photography. Trained him up. He ended up going to school, furthering it, did some work, and then it got to the point where I was like, man, you need to go apply for that. Yeah. Like, you've outgrown, like you can stay with me, but like I'm discredited. Like you've worked hard enough to be an equal. And a lot of times people will be like, "You not mad about that?" I'm like, why? Like, that's what, for me, life is life. The definition of life is developing and growing through time.
For sure.
If you lock somebody in, I can't lock my son in at the age he's in. Like, you can't, no matter how bad we as dads want our boys to stay where they are. Right. Time develops that. Now, when you look at that, because I look at how you and Drew act, and I look at the things, do you want more like opportunities to bring more people like Drew in? Like what are your goals for like the next phase of Justen Williams? Yeah. Photography?
So I've moved a lot into like the bigger commercial advertising thing. Like I kind of cut my teeth on like shooting stills on set while a video commercial is being shot, which is great because it'll give me like X amount of time at the end when video wraps. But Drew and I have had some opportunities to where it's like strictly a shoot for photography. And while it's great that Drew and I can handle everything between the two of us, had there been an extra set of hands or two, then all I would have to do is focus on photographing a person. Yeah. The reason Essence House ran so smooth is because Drew and I spent the whole day building the set out, light testing, building a preset, figuring out the workflow to upload images, all of that stuff. Yeah. It was rehearsed. Had we had to do that the day of, I would have been super frazzled. So having an extra set of hands, and I have a guy who I work with really closely now because Drew's gotten really busy with his job, where he's kind of learning not so much the Essence House workflow, but like how to be a great photo assistant. Like he's learning Capture One with me. He's learning like the tether setup that I have, the lighting setups that I use for certain situations, to where it's like it's a language that he and I can speak without having to speak it. And stuff like that only makes the end product better. Yeah. And that's why I attributed a lot of what I do to Drew and to Devon, who's the guy I'm speaking about, and to Johnny, because Johnny is an incredible assistant too. I literally could not do what I do at the level I'm growing into without them three, without them doing what they do on these sets with me. Just kind of knowing, because like on some of these, I was on a job last week, and it's a huge 3-day commercial where at the end of each scene, I hop in with my lighting setup. Yeah. Shoot portraits, had Drew not understood, like, bro, we got to knock this out really fast because I already feel like I'm in the way. Right. So to not have to worry about coaching him where to put light and where to do whatever, it would be really rough. But I can go in there with the confidence of knowing that this guy got my back and we win together. And like him doing that, he knows he's making me look better at what I'm doing, but I know he's helping me. Like, and I appreciate that so much, man, because I'm so used to just being a lone wolf for the longest. Yeah. And like now that I have like a small roster of people that I work with regularly, like it's one of those. Yeah. You know what I mean?
So like for you, what is your typical setup for these type of shoots? What are you normally like? What are your must-haves?
For like shooting stills on video? Yeah. Most of the time it's just like when possible, I will piggyback off the lights of the video crew because they're bringing huge stuff in there. And like my footprint, even if I didn't have that opportunity, which I'll get to, I'll kind of just like, you know, like Hollywood one light in on a monopod with a softbox, just because most of the time when I'm doing stuff like this, I'm shooting like marketing collateral and like assets for print. So like it needs to be evenly lit, have some direction, not super contrasty because like these are going on like bus ads, billboards, bus stops, and like it just needs to be like a very clean image. And sometimes film, they tend to lean a little more on the contrasty side. So for me, like popping in a light to fill in faces a little bit more, that's usually my go-to. So I'll have one light on a monopod. I use the ProPhoto B10X Plus, and then like plethora of modifiers depending on how many people I'm photographing, from a small 28-inch octabox up to a 6-foot umbrella, 7-foot umbrella. Gotcha. That's kind of the go-tos for me. My favorite is the Photech Soft Lighter. It's a very like flush umbrella, but the diffusion and the satin on the inside, it just makes it super flattering. It's like crisp. It's like a chef's favorite knife, and I just know what it's gonna do. So yeah, that's kind of the go-to. I don't know if you want to talk about gear with the rest of the stuff I use, but
I mean because I think for me, what I enjoy is that people get to see like the measures of what goes into like the paint. Yeah. Like for me, like I don't like all the like the technical stuff where it's like, oh, it gives like, you know, like, man, how are you using it? For sure. How are you painting it? Yeah. And like even today, we Hollywooded, and for those who don't know what Hollywooding means, it's
just a light on the monopod, basically, and you one of these things. Yeah. Make sure I'm on camera. It's one of those things. Yeah, it's just a light stand with legs, bro.
Yeah, like, where someone typically is being your human light stand.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. I just want to make sure, because everybody doesn't know what that terminology is.
I'm going to be honest with you. Robbie Klein, who is the most successful photographer that I know personally, and has become a really good friend of mine and has given me so much game with navigating the commercial space. He told me what Hollywood. He said it in a conversation, and I was like, "Oh yeah." And then I had to go look it up because I had no idea what it meant either. But yes, Hollywood. And shout out to Robbie. Yeah. But yeah, I'm the same way. I've like obsessed over looking at like the BTS of how photographers shoot things. Yeah. Just to understand like light placement and like try to figure out the why. And we were talking about it earlier, like. Light can get very, very complicated, but it's everything. Yeah.
And it's amazing how many people photograph differently. Like some people live by the curved reflector beauty dish type deal, or, you know, certain lights, softbox sizes. You see some with massive like wraps of light and diffusion. Some prefer closer light to the subject and less power. But I'm glad you said something that I want to jump in really quick about BTS.
Oh boy.
I think BTS is not a luxury anymore. I think it's something that you gotta do if you're gonna remain relevant within the callbacks, right? For you, what has been the most challenging parts of BTS within your workflow?
Exactly what you were talking about with Essence House.
Yeah.
It's super hard for me, man. And I work on such cool projects. Like, I'm thankful enough to be like brought in on these cool projects, and I know we will make some amazing BTS. But like, I'm so locked in on my work because I want to deliver the very best product that I can. I don't even think to take out my phone, man.
Yeah.
I really, really don't. And I just built like this little small BTS rig with the DJI Action 4 on like this, it's called like a Mantis Pod. So it like folds in all these different things. So I can literally just set it down and forget it. So I'm trying to be a little more mindful of that because I know watching other photographers work helps me. And like we were saying earlier, if I can help somebody else with the work that I'm doing, and it shows me, like, to me, that's process improvement as well. If I'm looking at things where, I could have done this better, or if I would have just moved this over here, or set this up in this order. So, like, it is something, you're absolutely correct, that it's, like, it's necessary in order to continue to progress.
Well, let's talk about it, because somebody listening or watching is going to say, oh, man, why don't you just strap on a GoPro and that'll do it. Have you tried that method?
I have not, but with the DJI thing, I actually bought the chest mount.
Okay.
With that, though, I don't want to be invasive.
Yeah.
Especially like if I'm on a commercial set and I go there looking like Officer Williams with the body camera on, like I just feel like it might be a little intrusive, and I never want to be that guy.
Yeah.
But it is absolutely necessary. So trying to find a sweet spot of getting what I need without being in the way.
Yeah.
You know? And like, I feel that's probably a metaphor for life. But.
Now listen, I want to play a little game here, right?
Oh.
I'm gonna fire off a few scenarios. What I want you to do is answer what your camera combination would be.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Should we set like a baseline? Because like I shoot with the same two cameras for every job.
Okay, which are?
2 Sony A1s.
Okay.
If it's in studio, then it would just be one of them. But if I'm doing like doc style stuff or shooting on set, I want to get like a wide range of stuff that I can deliver to clients. So focal length changes. I shoot with a lot of prime lenses.
Okay.
So you want to do that?
Let's do that. All right. Cool. So you are capturing a second line parade.
Okay.
What are you rolling with?
More than likely, it would be a 24 and a 50. Sidebar, I might use a 14 and a 50 to get super wide and super close. Because to me, a second line is only good if you're there.
Yeah.
So to me, the best way to feel like you're there is to get right in the mix. So using the 14, I can get super close and super wide, or with the A1s being a 52 megapixel camera, I can shoot in crop mode, which turns it into a 24.
And do you have it set to?
I have it mapped to a button.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one button at the top of my camera.
That's a gem.
Yeah, I use that a lot.
So you cannot sacrifice the quality.
Yep, it's still 24 megapixels.
And act like you have multiple lenses or a zoom lens on here. That's awesome.
Yeah, I do that all the time, man.
What shutter speed do you normally find yourself shooting at?
At a second line?
Yeah.
Oh, it's cranked.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cranked. Because at the most, I'm probably going to be at like at 5.6 or something like that. So if it's a pretty day, I'm at 2,000th of a second or something like that. Or if I want to get like some really cool motion blur stuff, I'll stop down to like f11 and really drag the shutter to get like some motion to show like the energy in the frame. So I'll go down to like, 50th of a second, 40th of a second to really just show how much movement happens there.
Couple in French Quarter or Jackson Square?
35, 105, all day.
All day?
All day.
Why 35?
35 is my favorite lens ever. If I can only have one lens, that's what I'm going with. Because it's wide enough to where you get the space, but if you get in, it doesn't distort the face, and you can get like really beautiful separation from the background. It's to me, it's the perfect storytelling lens.
And you prefer 105 over a 90?
Oh yeah, yeah. My 105 is a tank. It's a Sigma 105, and like that thing got a social security number, bro. Like it's nuts. But I only shoot that lens at 1.4.
Yeah.
Only, cause like, why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't
yeah.
you?
And like that lens is made for like portraiture, but I love shooting like doc style stuff with it because it just gives such a different look. Like some of my favorite photos I've ever taken is with that 105. I wish Sony would make one because no lie, that Sigma lens is like 8
It's
pounds.
amazing.
Yeah, but it's 8 pounds, like it's heavy, and I shoot with like a harness, and it's like a cloth one, not the Law and Order SVU one.
Yeah.
So like it just like one of my shoulders will kind of be like this by the time the day wraps because that 105 is glued to my camera.
Like you gotta have it.
I love it.
Now, what about a Friday night now jazz set? Are you and are you taking flash in there?
Absolutely not. No.
Yeah.
I try my hardest not to shoot on camera flash, because especially if I'm doing like doc stuff, because I want to disappear. The goal is to disappear.
I agree.
Like I'm not even there. I just did Nola by Nola, which is like October's live music month for New Orleans, and I did a ton of stuff for the Ace Hotel, and their space is like, it's beautiful, but it's dark in there.
Yeah, most of them are dim.
Yeah, so if I go in there with an on-camera flash and I'm like,
it changes the vibe.
yeah, it's distracting. It's super distracting, and I feel like it's a rule of thumb that like you don't shoot live musicians with flash on. But for the most part, like if I'm shooting on the same like plane as the talent, 2450. 2450. If I have the ability to move around. Because I would, with it being a dark space, another thing that I do, especially with shooting live music, I change my metering mode to highlights, to where it like perfectly exposes the highlights at 0, and then I'll go a little under that. Because I feel like, especially at the Ace Hotel, like it's moody, it's like a little more like vibey. So like dropping it down just a little and only exposing for the highlights to where I'm okay with stuff. There's this photographer, I quote this all the time, and he says, protect your highlights and embrace your shadows, which is also a metaphor for life as well. But I learned that from him.
Yeah.
And just being okay with stuff falling into shadow, because like technically that's how we see it a lot. I mean, I think the human eye has like 500 and something stops of dynamic range. That's something crazy.
It's insane.
So like I just want my photography to look a little bit better than what we see in person.
I like that.
That's the same way I approach flash.
Now, when you're in a scenario like that where you're documenting live music and that energy, how do you find, like, what are you basing your compositions off of? What keeps you like, what are you looking for? Are you naturally feeling the energy in the room, or what are your thought processes?
It depends. So I'll give 2 examples. So the Ace Hotel stuff, when the show starts, I won't put a camera to my face for like the first song and a half.
Really?
Literally just walking around to see like what's going on, what's cool. But Jazz Fest this year, Jazz Fest this year was amazing, man.
Jazz Fest this year was different, man.
I shot Trombone Shorty's closing set for Trombone Shorty, so like I'm on stage with him.
Those images were stupid, bro.
Those are like some of my favorite images I've ever made in my career, man. And I don't take that access for granted, but I did take advantage.
You were moving too.
Oh yeah. It was crazy. So with that, like I know this stuff won't be able to be replicated again.
Yeah.
So like as soon as the show starts, like I'm walking out with him and he does this crazy thing where he puts his 2 horns in. So like I had kind of watched some of his sets before, so, and I shot that whole thing with 2 lenses, the Tamron 17-28 and the 35-150, just because I knew I needed a ton of images for this, and I didn't have, like, I couldn't just keep walking back and forth across the stage. So like, because I was a little restricted in my mobility, I opted for zoom lenses to get super wide and then up to I don't know, like 210 or something like that in crop mode.
Yeah.
So like I covered the full range with what I was doing. But with that, like, I mean, I filled up 2 cards in his set.
Alone? Just with him?
Yeah. Cause I was shooting the stuff that people didn't see, like him and John Baptiste backstage embracing before they go on set. Him with like his family and like eating, you know, like crawfish bread and all of these things. So like I had spent the whole day with him from like 1 till he closed the show.
So you really documented the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that what you tend to gravitate more towards? You like that more than commercial work?
Yes and no. Commercial work is actually like super challenging, so I love that part of it. And it's made me so much better as a photographer. And it's taught me to see light better, which makes me better on the documentary side of things. I love the personal side of documentary. And like with being a musician, I really love doing stuff with music. Because I can kind of insert myself in those scenes. Like I speak the language, like I kind of get what's going on. I thoroughly enjoy that side of it.
I like that. Now let me ask you this. Let's pivot a little bit because a lot of times presenting our work on social compresses so much of what it is. How do you make sure you keep your work looking at its best when sharing to social? What's your workflow?
So I edit the bulk of my images up until recently. I'm slowly switching over to Capture One.
I hate it.
Hate Capture One?
I hate it.
I was terrified of it for the longest, man. But I took this lighting workshop last year from these guys, Some Studios, and I'm gonna attribute a lot of my success in the future to those 3 dudes, man. They've like just gave me so much game. I would spend the money twice if I could.
My boy out here giving out just free ad for free, man.
Anybody who's serious about lighting, like Some Studios.
I wanted to go. I told you it looked amazing, man.
That's the most I've learned since college.
Wow.
And it probably wasn't because it was a ton of information, but because it was so digestible.
Yeah.
The next one actually starts, today's October 26th. It starts tomorrow. They're in LA right now.
Really?
So, yeah.
Do you think you'll take another?
Yeah. I don't know if it would be from them because they gave me so much information. But whatever like the next step is, man, I'm forever a sponge. Yeah. Forever. Like I say it all the time. Like I know enough to know I don't know enough. And I never want to get to a point where I'm like, oh, like, I got it. Because to me, that's when the decline starts.
Who's living today that you would love to spend a week or a weekend with just shadowing?
Art Stryber.
Why?
He's a master. His name on Instagram, I believe it's AS Pictures. And everything that he shoots like movie posters and like a whole bunch of like really cool editorial stuff. Everything that he shoots, he does a BTS of like how he built the set, how he built the lighting, and explains it in the caption. And never met this man, but like I'm so inspired by his work. I would actually really love to spend some time with Danny Clinch too. Yeah.
That's more feasible than anything.
Yeah. I mean, like, I feel like it would be a DM away, but like, I would feel played if he was like, nah.
But I mean, you only find out.
Yeah,
if you ask.
You're right. You're absolutely correct.
I mean, you only said earlier that you're running into the things that you're fearful of.
Very true. Very true. So let's see.
Some of these brand deals that you should definitely be having.
Can we talk about that?
We can talk about it.
All right, yeah, let's talk about that in a second. I'm trying to think of some other guys. Mark Seliger, Felix Coons. All these dudes are like, they big dogs, man. Like, they're the top. I'm
not going to say who, but you write with a lot of them names, man.
I receive it. I don't feel that way, but
I get it, but
they just got a lot of skin in the game too.
Yeah,
I think that's a big part of it.
Like, you got to look at how you closing the gap, bro.
And that's like, I just want to keep running, bro.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's all. I don't want to demean nobody by saying names, but
yeah.
So like some of them names you write. I mean, you just
I appreciate it, bro. I definitely appreciate that. I would never say that, so to hear somebody else say it is...
yeah. And I just respect creatives. I think everybody's art is warranting of respect.
Yeah.
But...
Yeah. The last one would be Robbie, the guy I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
I just don't get to spend time with him. Like, that's my guy. So it's
Yeah.
like, it's really cool seeing somebody that, like, Robbie and I played music together in college and just, like, stayed tight since then.
Yeah.
But, like, his work is nuts, man. Like, the dude's so cold.
Yeah.
Like, polar bear butt cheeks cold. Like, he is nice. Robbie's done, like, some really big stuff. And just kind of, like, don't show me how to do it. Tell me why you did it.
Yeah.
That's, like, my approach to learning.
It's beautiful.
So, like, just watching why he did. I assisted him on a couple jobs, and I was just like, wait, what? It was like a lot of those things.
Yeah.
So yeah, he like, and I reference Robbie a lot again because he's like the most successful photographer I know personally. But like Robbie's challenged me, and he's also confirmed like a lot of stuff. He was like, nah, bro, like all the people that you talking about, like you can do this.
Yeah.
We just had coffee a couple weeks ago, and I was referencing like some commercial work, and he was like, this looks like something you would shoot.
Yeah.
So like having someone that I admire and look up to be like, nah, like,
stamp of approval.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah. That's a lot, man.
Yeah,
you know. Which, you know, let's get to it, because one of the things we were excited about talking about was you and these brand deals.
Yes.
And I push this a lot to people about how people they see brands as Goliaths when everybody wants their companies to thrive.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of times with what you're able to do with some of these products warrants a conversation with you and the brand.
I would love that, man.
For you, what is an ideal brand partnership look like? What is in your mind? What do you see it being?
Like who's the ideal brand,
or like, just like what would you want out of a partnership?
I would want to be an advocate on behalf of these products that I use that are like tried and true in my workflow. We were just talking about it earlier. Like I had been using for Essence House, I used tether tools, like their tether cable, and it failed on me a couple weeks before. So I bought another one.
Yeah.
And during Essence House, it started going crazy. And that's kind of why the line...
I remember because you kept trying to figure it out.
Yeah. So I've been just going down a rabbit hole of trying to find some like alternative ones. And I just stumbled across this company that makes this cable called IQ Wire. And man, it's like... It's thoughtless. Like I was saying earlier, like I don't want anything to distract me from making the best work possible. Like a cable's supposed to work when you plug it in. You should be able to make a photograph once you plug that cable in.
So I like that because that is your answer. Like, what do you want from a partnership is to partner with brands that allow me to create without having to take away from
being creative.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, period, right?
For sure. I think like DJI does such a good job with that, man. I do like a ton of drone photography, and I literally feel like I'm cheating when I'm flying these drones sometimes because like they're that good.
Yeah.
To where like it's kind of like when you're like making music. It's like how fast can I get what's in here
out?
That's it.
Without losing anything.
That's it.
Because I know when I was producing music, the clock is on. The moment it hits, it's almost like this hourglass is draining, and you got to try to siphon as much out as you can.
Yeah, creativity is such like a fleeting thing, man. So like if you don't capitalize on it when it's there, it's gone. And like you'll get another one, but like what if it's that one?
Yeah.
And I think about that often, man, with making photos, and the more gear you use, to me, that's more things that could go wrong. So like having gear that's consistent, like with this switch to Pro Photo, to me the craziest thing they don't miss.
Yeah.
Like I have not had one misfire since I bought these, and I've worked on like 6 projects with them, and it's like not a single one. which is insane to me.
So what do you feel like Pro Photo's greatest value is to a photographer?
The ease of use and consistency. I've been completely happy with that. Like, they're legit, like, they don't divide, for people who use flash, they don't divide it in like stops or like a 64th of a power. It goes from 1 to 10.
Yeah.
And it might just be because I'm very simple with learning, but like, if it's too bright, I turn it down. If it's too dark, I turn it up.
Yeah.
And I just trust my eye.
And how big of a, like, so with the system they have, are you able to expand it out?
Yes.
How big can you expand it out?
With the new trigger, I think there's like 24 channels or something like that.
So you could cook.
Yeah. We could. So, and like, to me, I would never use 24 lights on. But I was telling you earlier, like last year, Drew and I did a job for Red Bull, and it was the cover of Red Bulletin, and we did not have a lot of time with the talent. We had 3 different setups, and I had 2 different sets of lights on channels, right?
Yeah.
And it kept misfiring. So it was like 6 lights.
Yeah.
And it kept misfiring. And it made for like a really frustrating moment, to where like, I don't want the client to see me get frustrated with the gear. And then again, the tether cable went out, which is what prompted me to buy the second one.
Yeah.
So it's just like this crazy combination of like, if it can go wrong, it will go wrong.
Yeah.
But it worked. Like, it wound up working out really well. The photos came out great. But I always think back to like, I wonder what that would have looked like if we had a little more time, or if like those lights didn't fail.
So who's your bucket list of brands to work with?
To like make photos for? Or as
just in general?
Toyota. I would love to do a campaign for Toyota or like Honda, something. I'm a huge car guy.
Like the practical stuff, like
lifestyle,
how you can
automotive.
use a hybrid to go camping one day, and then you got
Lifestyle automotive photography.
lifestyle automotive. I've always found that to be the most impactful for me.
The reality of it is, Ferrari doesn't have to advertise, because the people who can afford them know where to go to get it.
Yeah.
But most of the people that you and I know, like, they're going to Kia, Hyundai, Toyota, Honda. So like, I would love to get millions of eyes on the work for something that I'm passionate about as well. So that would be great. I would love to. Lil Wayne's on my bucket list of portraits.
Really?
Oh yeah. Jay is on my bucket list of portraits.
What would you do with Wayne?
I haven't even got that far yet. I should probably think about this.
You got to think about it.
Yeah.
Because once the call comes.
I mean, I guess it kind of depends on what the theme of the album is too. Or the single.
So you want to cover?
No. But like marketing collateral. So like, if it's like things that.
But what if you just?
Oh, if I just got him?
What if he just was willing to let?
Oh, we going to Holly Grove.
You would shoot him in Holly Grove.
And I don't mean like in front of Lil Wayne mural. Like, I'm going to like somebody's porch.
So you want stylistically elemental.
Yeah. Like, to where it's familiar. That's what I said earlier. Like, everything I do, I want it to be familiar. A little bit better version of what we see in real life.
Print. You would like level. He could put this in his.
Oh yeah.
In his house.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't have a house. He has a mansion. But
yeah. That means it would need to be a pretty sizable print.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You said Wayne, and who else?
Yeah. With Wayne, I would probably get like a bunch of goats to put in front of him.
Yeah.
Something like that.
See, now it's cooking. This can manifest.
For sure.
Yeah.
It will. Yeah.
I'm telling you, that's why I say you got to.
Man, it's
think
crazy.
It through.
Like, Jay is like, he's like 3 degrees of separation from like.
And Jay's in New Orleans often. Like, most people don't know that.
I know.
They frequent. They have,
Yeah.
I don't want to put all that. Yeah. Some stuff I need to shut up.
But like, I would love to do some stuff for like. I'm a big boxing guy too. So like shooting a campaign for Everlast. I would love to do something like that.
What would you do that?
Where?
What would you want to do with that?
Oh, I would have to have my boy in it. Huge shout out to Sean Hemphill, aka Silky.
Yeah.
Like next phenom coming out of New Orleans.
You've done some.
He's but
is that out yet?
What?
Didn't you work? Wasn't that a project you showed me? Was that him?
Yeah, that was him. But that was just like so. With Sean and I, we've just been chronicling his.
Oh, okay.
His training.
Yeah.
Like he's a pro fighter.
Yeah.
I think Sean is 16-1. So I just love his dedication to his craft. Reminds me of how I am with mine.
Yeah.
And it just makes for. I feel like I'm not doing much.
Oh yeah, we do. Like, bro, when we document people who are passionate about what they're doing, I think that's the closest I'll ever get to doing crack cocaine. Like,
it's like it never feels like work, bro.
I'm high, never. Like the level of high.
Yeah,
I get from seeing somebody. That's what I love about documenting people, and a lot of times people always asking me like, why do you love, like, why didn't you go to film, da-da-da? I'm like, there's something about staging a film, and it's like making a movie is one thing.
Yeah.
I love realism. Like, I've always felt like a Renaissance guy. Like, when you can be in human, like, see a human being doing something that is true and part of who they really are.
It changes everything.
Oh, man, that's what I love music. Music is like writing from your experiences or seeing somebody sing from their being about who they are is it is insane how good that feels.
It is, man.
And so besides Wayne, who else? Everlast.
Yeah.
I think that's another one that's close.
Yeah.
Like you could make that happen.
Toyota, Mazda, Hyundai, like anything in the consumer brands of like automotive stuff. And like New Balance would be really cool.
They doing a lot of creative stuff.
They're great, man. I love the stuff that they're doing. I'm trying to think of what else.
Bro, that is a dope campaign. New Balance does New Orleans.
Just got to be careful because Nike just did it.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
They just did the Air Force One.
But what about the unspoken beauty of New Orleans? Because I've learned this in my time with New Orleans. There's versions of New Orleans that never get seen.
Yes.
And all the typical spots that people tend to use is a tip of what I've noticed about New Orleans culture. Like the little bodegas or the under the bridge. Like that under the bridge culture.
Oh, yeah.
Is like, bro, when they grilling and like people
donuts in the middle of the street.
Oh man, I'm like, this city never disappoints.
You'll never find that anywhere else in the world.
Ever.
Like I always say, New Orleans is an inland island.
Yeah. Like
it's so different. But yeah, I mean, I would love to show that to the world by bringing brands to where I live and injecting like New Orleans culture into that.
Or would you just take New Orleans culture to another location and shoot something?
So that's a personal project that I'm working on. Yeah. That's something that like that's very important for me now is like standing on my own creative ideas.
Yeah.
So I told you about like the book that I'm working on, but I also have like these like side quest projects that kind of like tier up to the book. And one of those is very similar to what you just said about like taking what's familiar into the unfamiliar.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited about that.
I want to give you space to are there any questions you want to ask me? Anything you want to talk about that we hadn't discussed?
It's always interesting to hear like the perspective of someone who knows me well enough to be able to tell me something, but it's far enough away to kind of see the bigger picture. So like, what are your thoughts for where I am, what I'm doing, and how I could grow it?
So I think where you are, I think you're still in that in a space where you are settling into owning what you actually want. So I think a lot of the stuff you've done have been things that have just come to you. But I think you're shifting into a time now where you write your own ticket and say, which is why I said, I really want you to start spending more time figuring out what you want from these brands, from these opportunities, because I think they will listen. And then what does it take for you to do what is in your head fully? I don't know if you follow the white boy, he does all these music videos, Lyrical Lemonade.
Cole Bennett. Yeah.
Cole Bennett. Cole did what I think a lot of people like you, and I don't want to say a lot of people because I don't even think there's a lot of people like you. A lot of the scenarios fall in the similar situations. You get in, you do the work, and now Cole is at a place where Cole tells artists what he wants to do for them.
Sure.
And they
value his creative input.
And I think you're at that place now where you can stand on that. And as far as where you're going, I think once you own that, I think you'll unlock things within yourself where every part of you now becomes full circle. Where I have an idea that can incorporate photography. I have an idea that also puts the soundtrack to that, and then give that live experience back to your people skills, where now I give the user a complete palette of art, because that's where we're going back to. If you really think about, because I study what's my boy, Basquiat. I study Basquiat a lot. What made Basquiat so impactful was how they positioned him to present art. The person, the artist himself was an experience which drew people. They talked about how his ability to connect with people was like insane. People just wanted to be in the room with them, right? But then there was this passion of the art. But then it was also the disruption of how that it made you separate from your day-to-day thoughts and ideas and how you expected life to go, right? And for that, it became an invaluable thing to the point now where people tattoo his crowns.
Right.
It's
timeless.
Y'all never met this man. Y'all never even, it's like the art resonates that much. And I think that is where you will land, in the sense of, I don't think you'll be having to do it all, but I think all of your direction or your brain will be able to say, I need you to do this, I need you to do this, this is what this is gonna look like, that's what that's gonna look like, and we're gonna be good. And that's when it's gonna get interesting. Because I think you're now in a position where your contract deal, you'll be able to write your own contract, man.
Yeah.
And that's why I tell you at the end of the day, stop wasting time. I be on you. I know I get on your nerves, but I'm like, that's the reality, because the quicker you figure out you got a credit card to swipe, it's like, oh, I can be doing this, and this.
Yeah.
And all the people I fool with, all the people I want to give an opportunity to, all the people like Drew that I can give a chance to live the dream, a little bit more, a little bit better, you already have everything you need. But until we verbalize what it is we want,
Right.
we can't have it.
It's aimless. Go ahead and press stop, partner.
Well, listen, man. Shout everybody. Shout yourself out. Look in that camera. Tell everybody where they can find you.
On social, I am at Justen Williams. It's JUSTEN, and JustenWilliams.co to see my portfolio. I appreciate you so much, bro.
Hey, man. Listen, this is overdue. You know, man. You know what you mean to me, bro.
Likewise, man. For real, this was
like we just getting. I keep telling you, we just getting cooking. The future is bright. We gonna get it in. Y'all go follow my boy Justen, man. Solid guy. Definitely learn something from just following his work. And yeah, man, I'm gonna catch y'all in the next one. It's your boy Lo. Peace.